Hello to everyone. Today you can listen to a lecture about substances and energy exchange, about basal metabolic rate, its regulation, and also about thermoregulation inside of our body. So let's start. If we are talking about substances and energy exchange or metabolism, what can we say? What does it mean? Metabolism is a term that is used to describe all chemical reaction involved in maintaining the living state of the cells or the whole organism, whole our body. Um, we can divide this metabolism for two opposite to each other process. First one has name catabolism. It means that this is process which describes the breaking down of molecules to obtain some energy. And opposite to catabolism process is anabolism process, the synthesis of all compounds needed by our cells. Catabolism. As a result of catabolism, we have fission and decay. With using of oxygen during respiratory process and with receiving from our food after consumption water, proteins, lipids, carbohydrates. As a result, we have fission and decay. As a result of fission and decay, we have obtaining low molecular weight substances, decay products, carbon dioxide, water, and also releasing of energy. Anabolism process, it will be synthesis of organic substances that are inherent in man. We have production of high molecular weight substances, what we need for our life. And one more important moment, that anabolism process going on with using of energy, with consumption of energy. If we say that catabolic process going on with releasing and production of energy, for anabolic process we can only consume energy. Let's talking about main source of our metabolic process. It's about protein, carbohydrates, and lipids. Protein metabolism. Protein, as you remember, is high molecular weight compounds which are built from amino acids. Protein functions, it's about structural function, catalytic or enzymatic function, protective, the formation of antibodies, transfer of genetic information, regulatory and energetic one. Delay requirement of protein for adult person, average it will be 100 to 120 grams. Regulation of protein metabolism. If we are talking about regulation of protein metabolism, we should say about nervous and humoral regulation. Nervous regulation. Nervous system has effect on hormone formation. Humoral regulation is more important for metabolic process of protein. For example, somatotropic hormone stimulates protein synthesis. Thyroxine, thiotyranine stimulate protein synthesis. Glucocorticoids opposite increase the breaking down of protein in tissue, increase protein synthesis in the liver. Carbohydrate metabolism. Carbohydrates are compounds that are made of monosaccharides. Function of carbohydrates: plastic function or builded function, supporting and energy. Um, all carbohydrates what we consume during one day, 70% oxidized in tissue to carbon dioxide and water, 25–30% converted to fat, and 5% synthesized into glycogen. As you remember, glycogen formation we have in our skeleton muscles and in our liver. Daily requirement 450–500 grams. Regulation of carbohydrate metabolism. Again, nervous and humoral. If you're talking about nervous, we are talking about autonomic nervous system. Humoral, it will be insular and contra-insular hormones. Contra-insular hormones, it will be adrenaline, thyroxine, glucagon, glucocorticoids, and of course main hormone for regulation of level of glucose. Only this hormone can decrease level of carbohydrates and glucose in our blood. It has named as insulin. When we are talking about fat exchange, we should remember with you that all fats we can divide on simple lipids, complex lipids, and steroids. Simple lipids, neutral fats, the bulk of the body, waxes, steroid, cholesterol, complex lipids, phospholipids, and glycolipids. When we are talking about fat exchange, we should say that function of fats, it will be source of endogenous water, it will be structure function, thermoregulation function, protective function, and source of energy inside of our body. Daily requirement 70–80 grams per day. Regulation of metabolism. What here we have is you. Sympathetic nervous regulation, sympathetic division induce fat decay, parasympathetic opposite fat synthesis. Humoral regulation breaks down of our fats under growth hormone or somatotropic hormone, thyroxine and catecholamines. Catecholamines work together with sympathetic division of autonomic nervous system, and responsible for synthesis it will be glucocorticoids. Energy exchange. When we are talking about energy generation, it's composite or composed from few parts. It will be contain work energy, heat loss energy, and stock energy. All time we are calculating calories. What does it mean 1 calorie? 1 calorie is the amount of thermal energy required to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water to 1 degree. For measurement and determine the energy consumption of the body, we can use two methods. It could be direct calorimetry and indirect calorimetry. Direct calorimetry estimation of the amount of heating water that circulates in the walls, roof, and ceiling of a special chamber. You can watch it on the picture from the left side. Some person sitting in the middle of the chamber, around this chamber, a wall of this chamber fulfilled by water, and all heat what he or she will be released will be increased temperature of water inside this chamber. And second one variant, it will be indirect calorimetry. The ratio of consumed oxygen to released CO2 for a certain time is the respiratory coefficient. Reflects the nature of oxidizing agents. From the tables, determine the caloric equivalent of oxygen, the amount of energy released by the consumption of 1 gram of substances in 1 liter of oxygen consumption. You can also see another variant of chamber for measurement of metabolic rate. A method of oxyspirography, indirect biocalorimetry with incomplete gas analysis. Using spirogram, we can use it also for measurement volume of consumed oxygen. Basal metabolic rate. Basal metabolic rate, or BMR, is the number of calories required to keep your body functioning at rest state. BMR is also known as your body's metabolism. Body's metabolism. What does it mean? You can imagine situation. If you are resting, you not do something, you trying not thinking even about something. This time you should ask yourself, your body, does your body need some energy, need some components for metabolic process, or not need? Do you need to consume some food? You need meal, or you don't need? If you will good thinking, you will answer for yourself that of course you need. Why you need? Even if you in state of rest, even if you not have any physical or mental activity, this time your body works, and works how? For all visceral function, for regulative process what are going on inside of your body. Of course, we so much need with you extra energy for receiving and releasing this energy. Of course, we need meal, we need to consume some food. Our basal metabolic rate depends on first, our genders. Male and female BMR different. Also depends on age. For example, for children, a time more intensive process of metabolism, and then more older we are, it's decreased. Height and body weight. Height and body weight also important for estimation and for determination of our BMR. If we are talking for what we use this basal metabolic rate energy, you can look from the right side table and you can see that the biggest amount of energy used by liver, after brain, after skeletal muscle. But what does it mean? In the state of rest, skeletal muscles, kidneys, heart, and other organs, 19%. As I said, that basal metabolic rate different for men and for women. We have special formula for calculation with using of special indexes, or also have special tables where we can find, depending our BMR on age, gender, weight, tall. You can calculate for yourself your number if you know your weight, height, and age. you can do calculation and you will find your basal metabolic rate. It will be amount of calories what obligatory you should use per day for support your wasting energy by your body during day without any physical or mental activity. If you have physical and mental activity, it means that you need, of course, more. Regulation of BMR. We have, as always, we have stimulation and opposite inhibition. If you're talking about stimulation of BMR, which process, which mechanism can induce stimulation of BMR? Of course, it will be sympathoadrenal system first of all. Catecholamines stimulate the intensity of metabolism through the activation of beta-adrenergic receptors of cell membranes, including adipocytes. Second factor is the same important, it will be thyroid hormones. Thyroid hormones also stimulate the intensity of metabolism. They increasing the cell synthesis of proteins which from these proteins after we have creation of beta-adrenergic receptors of cell membranes. And also increasing the synthesis of the enzyme sodium potassium ATPase. And as a result, we have increasing of sodium potassium pumps of cell membranes. Increasing of BMR also caused by male sex hormones, which has anabolic action on leads of muscle tissue growing process, and it means that using energy by men more high than for women. And fourth one factor I want to say you about that, it's about specific dynamic action of food. This is interesting fact. After a meal, our BMR increased, and it will be increased depends on what you are eating. If you are eating only pure protein food, your BMR will be increased on 30%. If carbohydrates will be increased for 15%, if lipids nearly 10%. If your food mixed together proteins, carbohydrates and lipids, it will be also increased on 15%. So what does it mean? When you consume some food, when you have had meal, this time your BMR is increased, obligatory. It's a short-term reaction, of course, for a few hours, and that's all. But you can see that if you want to increase your BMR, you can consume protein food, and it will be increase your BMR process. If we are talking about decreasing of BMR, when it's happened during sleeping time. During sleeping time, we have domination of vagus nerve on visceral system prevails. BMR reduced by 10%. Second factor, it can be during long-term starvation. BMR is decreases by 40% as the activity of sympathetic adrenal system decreases, and the concentration of thyroid hormone this time also decreases. So long-term starvation, if you will do limitation of food consumption for yourself, this time your BMR will be so much increased. And third one, the absence of thyroxine in the bodies. When people have a problem with thyroid gland, hyperfunction of thyroid gland, it's induce reducing of BMR by 50%. by 50%.